Marvel has a big budgeting problem. Recently, Marvel has been spending more money to actually create their movies than it has been making back the movies in the box office and through other means like DVD sales. This is seen in some of Marvel's most recent movies and TV shows, which include Secret Invasion's budget coming in at a whopping $212 million. So where in the world did the $212 million go? That seems to be the big question for many, as with each movie going forward Marvel makes, it seems that the budget gets higher and higher and the return decreases. What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest culprits as to why Marvel has been decreasing in quality lately. And believe it or not, Marvel spending more money on their movies actually has a big part to it. How, you may wonder? Isn't spending more money supposed to make a better movie? Well, you'll just have to watch the entire video to find out. Please do consider liking and subscribing, and let's get started. So let me just get one thing out of the way so no one comes at me in the comments. I am not attributing all of Marvel's failure to just this one issue of a large budget. There's obviously more going on in the background that we just aren't aware of, but I do believe a significant part of Marvel's downfall is because they spend so much on their movies nowadays. So with that out of the way, let's answer the main question of today's video. How in the world has the increase in budget of recent Phase 4 and 5 Marvel movies attributed to the downfall of this once coveted movie studio? Well, to answer that question, we need to get a good comparison of how the budget of Marvel movies has increased over the years. To do that, we can average the phases to see the evolution of the budget. In doing so, we get an average of $168 million per movie for the first phase. This is derived from 6 movies with budgets adding up to about $1 billion. Moving on to Phase 2, we get a total budget of about $118 billion across 6 movies, which averages out to approximately $197 million. Moving on to Phase 3, this phase totals to about $2.3 billion across 11 films, which averages to $212 million per movie. Now, onto the phases where many claim that Marvel quote-unquote fell off.
Creating series that are connected to our theatrical releases, making the MCU more immersive than ever. There's a lot of new content coming from Marvel Studios, so let's get started.
In Phase 4, this phase has a whopping 7 films, 8 TV shows, and 2 specials. Now, I wasn't able to find credible information on the budgets of the TV shows and the specials, so I won't be including them here, but from the sources that I have looked through so far, I would estimate Marvel's TV shows' budgets could be anywhere from $200 to $250 million. But going back to the movies, across the 7 movies featured in Phase 4, the total budget comes to about $1.4 billion and averages to about $200 million per movie. Now, you might be thinking to yourself that the $200 million average budget seen in Phase 4 is lower than that of Phase 3 and not that much higher than the average of Phase 2, which is $197 million. Well, you're just gonna have to trust me with this, alright? We just have one more phase to get over before I reveal to you what's been hiding in the shadows this entire time. So going on to the 5th phase, we have a total budget of $724 million across only 3 movies, and this averages to about $241 million. Now, we may seem like we have all of the correct data, however, we don't. Phases 1, 2, and 3 all feature an Avengers movie, and it also just happens that an Avengers movie costs more since it's supposed to be the biggest, baddest, most awesomest team-up movie ever. So since Phases 4 and 5 don't have an Avengers movie, by removing the outliers from the previous phases, we now get an average of $156 million for the first phase, $164 million for the second phase, and $181 million for the third phase. Wow. That was a lot of math. Hopefully too many of you didn't click off the video, but now we're going to take a deep dive into what these numbers actually mean. So as we can see from the data, once Marvel reached Phases 4 and 5, their spending for a singular movie has increased significantly. I believe this is due to their success of their previous movies. After Endgame, Marvel was on top of the world. They had just made one of the most successful movies ever, and everything was looking good for them. So they probably thought that as long as they made a movie, everybody would flock to see it. No matter what the cost was, they would always turn a profit. Obviously, that backfired on them spectacularly, as their most recent movie, The Marvels, boasting a $250 million budget, has not even made that money back in more than 2 weeks after opening. And that isn't even including the marketing costs for the movie. Anybody with a little bit of common sense can come to the logical conclusion based on those numbers that this isn't a sustainable way to run a company, And I will say, I haven't watched the Marvels yet, so I won't give my opinion on the movie, but from what I've been seeing so far, the reception hasn't been the worst. Still, this movie's budget shouldn't have been as high as it was. Avengers Infinity War had a budget of $300 million, and that had the Avengers in it. The Marvels, on the other hand, was marketed to be a lighthearted movie about familial bonds. There is no reason whatsoever why this movie should have had this high of a budget. Another piece of Marvel content that falls into the same trap is Secret Invasion. Like stated in the video intro, it had a $212 million budget for a TV show that barely had any CGI. At most, I would say 30 to 40 minutes of it. When comparing it to a movie that had a similar amount of CGI, The Creator, it hails in comparison. The Creator's budget was a mere $80 million, yet it had some of the best CGI I have seen since Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, I don't expect all Marvel movies to only spend $80 million, but this movie is living proof that you can make a large sci-fi movie with a lot of CGI without having such high budgets. And if I'm being honest, The Creator with the $80 million budget has better CGI than most of what Marvel has produced, with budgets over $150 million, even in Phase 3. And it's not just Marvel movies that have such high budgets. Disney, Marvel's parent company, has also been overspending on most of their movies, like Wish, their most recent animated movie. This animated movie has a budget of $200 million. Now, I'm no animation expert, but I really don't think an animated movie should cost that much. Heck, Frozen 2 from 2019 cost $40 million less, and it made $1.4 billion at the box office. And a lot of articles I looked at said that Wish needs to make at least $40 million at the box office to turn a profit. But in my opinion, I just don't see that happening in the future, as even Encanto, one of the most beloved movies of 2020 and 2021, barely even made that much. Moving back to the Marvel situation, with all of this information, we can finally answer the big question. If Marvel has been spending more to make its movies, then why has its quality been going down? For me, it all boils down to one thing. Marvel's spending carelessly when making the movies because they know they're gonna make bank. Whether the spending be for hiring the actors, the production cost of the movie, or the most apparent, the CGI of the movie. I have a feeling that Marvel thinks as long as they pay enough for the movie to be made, they will turn a profit no matter the time crunch. And that's most apparent in their CGI sector, as CGI artists are being overworked, although they are being paid a lot. Money can buy a lot of things, but time isn't one of them. Another big factor of this is that they have been rushing to complete films just for the sake of having another movie released. One of the most recent examples of this is how the new Captain America movie, Brave New World, is going in for reshoots after they finished a lot of the movie already. Now, reshoots for a movie is no abstract idea. It's been here for ages, but in this case, it's been rumored that a lot of the movie would be reshot, more than like 50 or 60%, because it wasn't received well when shown to test audiences. This rushing of a movie to be completed is ultimately contributing to most of the MCU's recent box office flops. And where does budget go into all of this? Well, if a movie only costs $150 million or $160 million, a $400 or $500 million box office wouldn't be as disappointing since the cost of the movie was so low. With all of this being said, in my opinion, Marvel just needs to slow down, not only spending time to make their movie's story better, but also to cut back on costs for their movies. And as I'm about to end the video, I do want to say that this is not just another MCU hate video. I genuinely care about the MCU, as it has given me some of the best memories and I want it to prosper. So I'm just giving advice for all it's worth. Comment down below what you think about Marvel's budgeting issue, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see everybody in my next one.